Hello friends, and welcome back to a brand new landscape photography vlog, and this time we're in Olympic National Park shooting some dramatic seascape photography. In this video I share various tricks and techniques, as well as witness some of the most spectacular conditions I've ever gotten on the Pacific Northwest coast. I really hope you enjoy watching. I'm going to a beach that has some just incredible sea stacks. I mean, some of the most unique ones that I've ever seen. And right now, the weather is looking awesome. Check this out. Looks like the sun is kind of peeking through the clouds. I'm just kind of walking down the beach. You can see the sea stacks over here. We're getting closer and closer, and just wait until you see how massive these things are. All right, well, I definitely lucked out because check this out. It is amazing. Look at that. Ooh, got the sun peeking out between these rocks. Got my camera out, shooting with the 12-24 lens, super wide angle right now, and I'm just doing a vertical here to see if we can get all that water flow leading up to the composition. So I'm gonna take a few darker exposures for the sun. Boom, boom, boom. And then I'm gonna go to my longer exposure and just wait for the water motion to cruise on in here. I see a wave coming. I'm just gonna keep clicking, continuous shots. There were some bigger waves earlier. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. So what's interesting about this composition that I'm shooting, this pile of boulders right here, was actually at one point a singular sea stack with a tree on top, if I can remember. But I actually shot it on my last trip, and maybe I'll pull up an image. I've got like a moonlit exposure of it. It's so crazy how much the landscape can change. Now, I think this is very cool looking, but I did really enjoy that sea stack that I shot last time, so it's sad that it piled off. But I mean, this thing is massive too. I'm just looking at these giant boulders and I'm like, how did this thing break apart? It just shows the sheer power of nature. Oop, wave coming in, wave coming in. Alright, so here's my first image of the evening, and I'm really happy with the way this one turned out, with that beautiful swirling water motion, dramatic cloud texture up above, and even the sun star right above the rock. In order to get this long exposure here, I was using an internal filter within the 12-24 lens that's about one stop and allowed me to knock down my shutter speed to that 0.6 of a second exposure.
I lucked out so much with these clouds. Look at these beautiful clouds. Oh my gosh. So now I'm trying to include this sea stack on the right side with this one on the left, playing around with a few different compositions, but I'm watching this side because the waves are channeling through here, and watch this. They get a little big. So I just got to make sure I don't get the water too high, and then if there are big waves coming, I'm going to stop everything I'm doing, go right over here. But look at this right now. And then every once in a while, take a couple of the darker exposures. Look at the cloud textures. Oh my God, they're pointed right. They're making this perfect V shape. Couldn't have asked for better conditions. This is unreal. All right, found a new composition. Remember, when it comes to seascape photography, it's all about movement. Using the wide angle lens and just kind of moving around the sea stacks to see how they shift and how they change. And when it comes to the light, like the clouds, how you can accentuate the composition using the weather that you're getting. Look at the V shape that's created here. Now, if I was pointed more to the right or more to the left, we're not going to get that effect. But in this specific spot with the sea stack, I'm able to get those clouds leading right into it, and then I've got the water flow down below that's helping to lead up into the sea stack. So everything kind of works together. The other part is just a waiting game, waiting for the waves to come in, waiting for the right bit of motion.
Here's just kind of a classic composition, this beautiful grouping of sea stacks, and I really liked the rock in the foreground that the water was swirling around. Now in this image, you're watching the water recede back into the ocean, and it's a common misconception I've found where some people only shoot the water coming towards them rather than back away, but some of those receding patterns can give you really interesting results. I love how the clouds up top are kind of mimicking what's happening in the water, creating this really nice vortex effect and leading the viewer into the sea stack rather than out of the composition.
All right, so I found just one more composition of some of these sea stacks with the light in the background. The colors were beautiful earlier. They're starting to fade just a little bit, but let me at least show you what this looks like so you can kind of get a sense for what I'm shooting. Look at that. So you're seeing a 16:9, of course, so you're going to see a lot more room on the right and left side, but you know, you can see that beautiful water flow. It's glistening in the sunset, sunball on the left side, and then I feel like that kind of balances out with the land that's on the right. You know, we'll see. And then just beautiful clouds up top. I'm kind of waiting for them to keep shifting because they're moving pretty fast, so these clouds are going to keep shifting and hopefully we get some really decent texture up there. Oh my God, that's amazing. Oh, here's a big wave coming. All right, let's see if we can get this right into the camera. That is awesome. Okay, and then get it receding again. You don't get many nights like this on the coast, so I do not take this for granted. I'm so excited to edit these.
Now, if you've ever seen photos of this beach before, these are kind of the classic, very iconic compositions to grab. But either way, I wanted a few for myself, and I'm really happy with the way these turned out, especially with those incredible conditions we got.
All right, well, I'm just walking back from sunset, and that was just amazing. It really was. It was a gamble coming out here because the predictions called for rain. They called for rain and a bunch of clouds, and I drove really far to get here, over an hour and a half to get over here, and then, you know, walked along the beach, and there was just a little something, there was something inside me that was just like, I need to go. I need to go. I don't care about the predictions. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how much effort it takes. I'm gonna get back out here. And I'm glad I did, because that was really something special. And, you know, I'm just so glad I was able to take you guys on this adventure with me.
After this, I wandered back to camp and prepared for more shooting the next day.
Got my buddy TJ right there, shooting some awesome stuff with his telephoto lens. And this beach that we're at right now is just spectacular. So let me show you what we're working with here. So check this out. We have all this driftwood in here, which, you know, if you kind of look in a little closer, you can find some pretty amazing textures. Bit of a search to find the right pattern to focus on, but there's so much potential here. And then we have just this gorgeous stretch of the coast here. And over in this direction, you're starting to see some of the pointed sea stacks that we could potentially shoot some dramatic wide-angle frames of. This one back here has some trees on it. Could be really nice to include in the background there. And so far, it just looks like an amazing day. I mean, look at the sun out there, partial cloud. All right, so I think I found something really interesting to focus on here. I've got my 28 to 200 millimeter, staying a little bit more versatile, so if I want to get closer, I can get a little closer, go wider, or a little further away and kind of zoom in. Let me show you what this looks like, though. It's so cool. Okay, so here's a little wider, just so you can see the, you know, what section of the log I'm focused on here. And if I zoom in, I mean, look at all this texture. It's just amazing. And what's nice is we have diffused lighting right now to work with. I want to give myself some breathing room because I am going to have to do a bit of a focus stack for this one. So I'm going to pull the composition back slightly. And then for this one, I think what I'm going to do is F16 just to get enough of the shot in focus so that I hopefully don't have to do the focus stack. ISO 100 and 1/15 of a second here. And then I'm just going to focus on different parts of the image. So I'm going to start out with a focus point for the middle. There we go. And then I'm just going to grab some focus points for the edges as well. Now I think this is a fairly flat plane of focus, so hopefully I don't even need these extra focal points, but they're kind of just, I'm just taking them more as insurance, just to make sure that, you know, when I get back to Lightroom, there isn't any spots of the image that's out of focus.
So it was a good thing I did that focus stack because I definitely needed it for this composition. I used all 5 exposures and blended them all using Helicon focus. You can also use Photoshop to do your focus stack. The colors for this image were a little funky. I thought they were way more interesting in camera, but once I got back to Lightroom, I realized they weren't really doing much to accentuate the tones of the image. So I decided to simply convert them to black and white to focus more on the contrast of the scene.
I think I'm gonna move around here, see what other patterns we can find, and then we're gonna shift on over to some more wide angle, dramatic seascape photography. So we got TJ shooting some super zoomed in textural shots. And we got this just really spectacular log right here. Look at all these swirls. I'm kind of doing the same thing again for my focus stack. You know, I'm just kind of aiming at the corners. I'm just gonna grab one shot for the corner here, one for the corner here, move on to the bottom left, bottom right, and then one for the center.
Here's another textural image that I thought turned out really nice, and I love how it has this kind of swirly galactic feel to it. Again, similar to my previous compositions, I did need all of those focus stacked images, so I'm really glad I ended up taking those extra frames. After taking these, it was finally time to head back out and shoot some more dramatic seascapes.
All right, so we've wrapped up shooting the logs, and now just kind of wandering towards these sea stacks to see if we can get a nice dramatic sunset. And look at this. The sun is surprisingly breaking through these clouds. We could get lucky. The last time I was here, which of course was a long time ago, 10 years ago, I got rained out almost every day. So seeing the sun peeking through is definitely a nice surprise here. All right, so I am in this little cave right here, which is really cool. And I've got my 12 to 24 millimeter lens on here with a one-stop filter so that I can do a slight long exposure for the wave action. And then I'm gonna do a bit of a bracket for this too, just because it's so tough to get the dynamic range here. And when I bracket, I make sure to do it with my shutter speed. So I'm just taking a few more exposures, and then I'm gonna pop back to my long exposure, which I've been doing about 0.6 of a second for these shots. So you can see here, this is more of a 16:9 crop. I've been playing around with some different compositions. It's just amazing though, look at this. The light is gorgeous right now on the horizon. So I'm gonna take a few more frames in here, and then I think I'm gonna pop out, see if we can get some of the sea stacks with the, whew. I gotta be careful in here too. You gotta be very vigilant, and don't just watch the waves that are hitting right in front of you, watch the ones in the distance too, because it's really easy to get caught off guard. Take a couple dark frames here, and then I'm gonna pop back to 0.6 of a second exposure. And I'm kind of overexposing the sky a little bit. I'm not too worried about the shadow detail, although I could even do one more exposure for the shadow detail here. Oh, here we go. This is a good one.
These cave images were an absolute blast to take, and I tried some different perspectives and played around with various compositions. But then I decided to get a little closer to the rock that's at the end of the cave, and then I shot this one. This angle got me just close enough to see the sun peeking through the frame, creating this beautiful backlit splash. And of course, using f/16, I was also able to get a sun star in there as well. Now, a simple word of caution, please be very, very careful if you're gonna attempt to shoot seascapes like this, especially in caves or around slippery rocks. I've been shooting scenes like this for over 15 years, and I've gotten very good at understanding the way waves work and the way they channel through in areas like this. But that did not not come without a few mistakes along the way, including a situation I had back in 2014 where I had a sneaker wave completely knock me over, knock my gear down, everything broke, and I got a ton of bruises. It could have been much worse, but I definitely learned my lesson on that occasion. If you're fairly new to seascape photography, I highly recommend staying on the shore and make sure you have a place behind you where you can easily retreat to if the waves get a little too big.
Well, that little cave was incredible. You know, got a little close to some of the waves. I think there might be some cool results in there with the sun star. But now, check this out. Ooh, look at the sun piercing through. And look at these sea stacks. I want to see if there's maybe a way to compose some of these with the sunset, maybe with the stack out here in the distance. So I'm just gonna play around and see what we can do here. I think if the sky starts filling up with color, I may kind of reposition myself to different areas to see if we can get the sky color behind more of these sea stacks. Right now I'm just focused on one of them to get some of the sunball in there too. I'm going with an ultra wide frame here, so I've got 12 millimeters, and I'm just waiting for another bulk of water to come in. There we go. Oh my God, that's incredible. The light is beautiful right now. Really cool swirls of water coming through. So I'm trying to just, you know, keep calm, watch the way the patterns of the waves are shifting in, because what I really want here is, you know, whatever is happening in the foreground, like the wave action and some of the flow, I want that to accentuate the background and basically pull the viewer into the background. So in this composition, the stack and the sun back there. The sky is opening up with pinks. I see some pinks up there, tons on the horizon. It is so cool. So I'm just snapping photos as I go along, like just snapping as the conditions change. We got a wave coming in. And then I'm gonna wait for the wave to recede. So get it coming in, and then get it receding once again.
Here's just a couple more compositions of these beautiful sea stacks under this really nice soft light. And now I'd love to hear from you. Which image from the Seascape video ended up being your favorite? Please let me know in the comments. These two outings on the coast were truly magical, and the conditions were amazing. Now, of course, I did get lucky with these beautiful sunsets, but part of that luck comes with just being out there, because a decent amount of my trip out there was in the rain. But what's funny is these two outings that I shot were also predicted to be in rain. And that's why you have to take these weather predictions with such a grain of salt, because they're not always accurate. And in fact, sometimes when you get those rainy clouds coming in, it can produce more drama. I think really the biggest takeaway here is if you feel inspired to get out there and shoot photography, just go for it regardless of the weather. And the more time you spend out there in field, the more chances you give yourself to witness incredible moments like this. So with that, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more. And if you want to learn more from me, you can check out my workshop page, where I have an awesome trip to New Zealand next year, as well as a Death Valley workshop. As always, I really appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.